for joining us today at the Madison Fabric User Group. We are in our 11th year of meeting and talking about self-service data and analytics. We started with Power BI. We rapidly transitioned over into Fabric. We're excited to be here, and we're gonna like quick jump in, do a little welcome. Tom Martens is going to do a presentation, a little Q&A. If there are questions that come up as Tom is presenting, please go ahead and put those into the chat. We'll use a Q colon so that we can actually like filter it out. I'll be monitoring the chat. Tom, you don't have to worry about that at all. Okay. So I'll help facilitate those questions as they come up. Then we're going to hit on upcoming events and job openings that are out there, and then we'll do a quick wrap up at the end of this. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I am so privileged and excited to have the Thomas Martens here talking about what the bleep is data mesh. What does that mean for Fabric? What does that mean for us as we're working in this space? I've heard about data mesh for, or I've heard about it and I've dug deep into it and I love how this works and operates, but I think this is just something that people don't understand the common tenets of data mesh, and I'm excited that Tom's going to go into this in more detail. Tom, you've been in this sphere for a long time. You've been an MVP for how long now, Tom?
Whoa, 8th year. And guess what? Today, the crystal arrived. I didn't find the time because colleagues were bothering me.
Yep. Whoa. I got my crystal too.
Whoa. So I didn't unpack it for the 8th year right now. And I started with Power BI. I fell in love with Power BI the other day.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Tom, we're excited to have you here. You want to go? Yeah, it's not a Kyber crystal. It's our MVP crystal that goes on our our stand here. So exciting thing to have.
What is Kyber?
A Kyber crystal is from Star Wars. It's what powers a lightsaber.
Probably I can swap 3 or 4 of my MVP crystals to one of the Kyber. Maybe, who knows?
We should definitely give that a shot. All right. Awesome, Tom. I'm going to stop sharing, and Tom, why don't you go ahead and take over, and the floor is yours, sir.
So I have to admit that I'm not a team's MVP. So sometimes I stop sharing, and then because I want to see reactions from the audience, blah, blah, blah. And instead of stop sharing, I hit leave. So please forgive me for that in advance. I try that it not happens today. So for now, I hit share and will select the proper screen. And here we go. And here we go. So here we don't hear why. No, what? So and now I have to show this go away. So yes, data mesh, whatever this is. And I am, so this might be a question where I want to see reaction. Maybe you do not know, or some of you, but because this is a Fabric user group IX, I expect that you got all the great things about Fabric from Chris already. I am in this Fabric world. I have to admit, I am in the lakehouse party. I also favor data mesh. I favor data mesh instead of other organizational architectural thingies. But this doesn't mean that data mesh is the best. Lakehouse is the best, as ever, it depends. So I have no idea why I mentioned this guy right here, Copenhagen, Denmark. I will share the slides. I will post it where you can download my slides so at least I did the proper date. Sorry for that. I will fix this. Sorry. Going on. Who I am, new concept or only new names, of course. I always love to, because I'm old, I do this for 25 plus years, and maybe, to be honest, I have to consider of if I have to change this 25 to something different, still with a plus. I do this for quite some time. And because I love AI, predicting data, things like that, but I also look back to the past. Where do we come from? So, and I'm Tom Martens, doing this for quite some time. I'm old. I'm working as a solution architect at Munich Re, a reinsurance company, or probably the reinsurance company. I love writing DAX statements. This provided me the possibility to write this product, this Power BI book, together with Phil Seamark, who is now working for the Fabric Cat team. We already have mentioned that I have the honor to be awarded as a minimal viable product, as some colleagues like to call me. There's Tom, this minimal viable product. Please, I'm honored to have this award, however people pronounce that, because I know what it means. So new concept technologies, and for this reason, I start with a recap. The recap is this concept architectural. Is the data mesh architectural? Who knows? I want to start with a recap of, or back to the present. So we have a data warehouse, and this data warehouse is cool because it solved I can tell you, because I did this for quite some time now, it solved so many problems, going away from the thing called Excel hell, having one central data repository. And the most thing important in contrast to data mesh is that this thing is a central data repository. Basically, this is not good. Basically, it's great that you have a that you have a data repository. So this is how it looks. Data sources, there are staging areas, there's this data warehouse, summary data, raw data. This is only one image of the architecture, the conceptual architecture of the thing called data warehouse. And then there are users who need data for whatever they are doing, reporting, analysis, data mining. So this is basically that there are different use cases for, or also not just use cases, but also different things or different workloads, as we now call it, that will be applied to data. So, and for this reason, the data warehouse created these data marts, especially designed for the needs of its users. So, but then it's centralized. So basically, it's a good thing, especially if you are remembering why this data warehousing emerged, because of, let's say, the spreadsheet hell, not to mention the Excel hell, because there was been a lot of extracts from systems, put it into spreadsheets, and then these spreadsheets was distributed across the organization, combined with this epic 3D Excel formulas, talking to different Excel sheets and things like that. And then everything broke because someone did not have access to the underlying spreadsheet on a very, very distant and remote file server. So it's centralized.
And Thomas, that's a great point. And Fernando is calling out the data marts that you're talking about is not the same thing as the Power BI data marts.
No, so basically, sorry, absolutely, it's not what we or the Power BI guys know as this, as it's now called, the Power BI item data mart. No, it's not. It's a conceptual thing, of course, put into technology. And this concept means from everything that resides in this data warehouse, unified data, unified dimensions, all these things, cleaned up data, create a subset of this data tailored to meet the needs of the users. It's not the Power BI item. So if you want to be technology agnostic, a data mart is basically everything that extracts data from a repository, because otherwise it would be overwhelming. If you have a Power BI data sets or semantic model history, maybe someone also considered implementing perspective, reducing the complexity of the data set, because it could be difficult navigating a semantic model containing 120 dimension tables and 50 fact tables. So for this reason, it's a perspective. Somehow conceptual, maybe this can be compared to a data mart, tailored, a tailored subset of data targeting the needs. But then, data explosion. And also not every data that we want to analyze looks like a table. Maybe it pretends being a table. However, it's not. Maybe it's unstructured or whatsoever. Or JSON, and this was not well suited, or a relational database is not well suited for having this data, storing this data, and especially not if you want to if you want your analytical questions answered on this type of data. However, we needed this data, and for this reason, the data lake emerged. Now we have a data lake, and the idea of the data lake is put everything into a single thing called the data lake, and then this data lake quite often became a data swamp. Because now I have a central something, and I wouldn't call it a central data repository. I would call it a central storage thing. So, however, we realized that getting analytical questions answered is not a good idea if it's in JSON. So there was this Hive thingy where we get, once again, SQL query, getting where we formulated our analytical questions into SQL, and then we have been able to analyze our data from the data store. This also came somehow expensive, because storage always cheap, but having my analytical questions answered can heavily add to your credit card. Hopefully you have this Black Mamba Costco credit card when you want to do this. So, but however, it looked like somehow this is a deja vu. First, our data lake now, I do not take care about schemas. This ongoing discussion is schema on read, schema on write, what is better. Sometimes I think the people that prefer schema on read do not want to think a little bit ahead. On the other hand, I always invite all these databases who could easily store multi-values in a single cell and do not expand this to rows and things like that. So pros and cons, but from analytical perspectives, we have learned data lake can be very expensive if I want to have my analytical question answered. And now, whoa, the lakehouse. Everything is solved. The lakehouse combines the scalability and flexibility of the data lake. Yes, yes, yes. And the reliability of the data warehouse. What? Of course, this is not true. This is only true if we add something to the data lake or the lakehouse, and this something is one of my favorite things, that is the unified storage format, meaning especially for Fabric, the delta table. This paquet file, blah, blah, blah. And then some asset capabilities added to this paquet file. And now I have Delta Lake, and now I have the reliability of the data warehouse. And because of this paquet file format, also the performance that we love from our relational database.
Hey, Thomas, a question has come in by Fernando. He wants to know, what's your position on having a data mesh for different domains? Example, finance, sales, manufacturing, etc.
I will come to this.
You'll get to that? Okay, great.
I will come to this. And there is, so sometimes I'm sloppy with naming things. And because I do not want to name things, I call them things or other things, because then I do not need to define the meaning of the word. I laughed when the Microsoft people laughed to change the Power BI term data set to semantic model. I laughed that. Now, I still have to, I love the feature translytical task flow. I love that, it's epic. I do not like the name that much because it's
confusing.
Yes, and it's difficult because it's three terms, and sometimes I say translytical data flow. What the fuck? And there's also one word in the term in the world of fabrics that I consider confusing, and this is a term domain. So when I talk about domains in the context of a data mesh, I mean the word domain in the context of data mesh. And if you think this data mesh thingy solves all your problems, and Tom was talking about domains, and I have domains in Fabric, please rethink what or reread what a domain is doing in Fabric, please. So, however, I come to this domain thingy. Lakehouse combines the benefits of data warehouse on data lake, how is this doing? And one of these other things that we need, we meaning the analytical people, either we provide analytical solution to our colleagues, clients, whoever, or we are using them in this domain or in this world of cloud analytical thingies. There is a separation of compute and storage, meaning if I have storage called OneLake, it's the ADLS or the Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Storage is, I can scale my storage. Whatever I want to store there, it fits there. And it's quite cheap. And then I have this serverless compute. So this means I can, whatever I want, I can store vast amounts of data and query it quickly, like hell. But then please remember, if you want that, you need your Black Mamba Costco credit card. If you do not want to store that much data, and if you are good with, oh, this is fast, not blazing fast, but fast, cool. You can scale compute and storage independently. And this is also something what personally I love this thing about Fabric that, and I cannot imagine, and I also do not know when the Microsoft people started making this delta tables thingy, the native data storage format, so that all their compute engines are able to source data from this. I do not know when they started. I assume it was not yesterday. I consider this an epic task. And I love this. So now I have my lakehouse, basically the foundation of all the analytical thingies. And the delta tables I already mentioned. So delta tables, there's Hoodie, there's Iceberg, different formats. How the combination of fast or fast queryable and ACID compatible table formats like a delta table. If you are using Databricks, then you know delta tables. If you are using Snowflake, then you use Iceberg. This is the thingy that is, I call it magic. And now we are also, meaning the Fabric people, are also able to use Iceberg. So I do not want to discuss what it's better, Delta or Iceberg or Hoodie. It's different. I am a Databricks person also for quite some time. I'm not a Snowflake person. For this reason, to me, I so in love this delta table, and that my Vertipack engine is now able to directly read these thingies from the data tables, calls it direct lake mode. So now we have a past. So whenever I talk to people about data mesh, I start smiling because this is so close to my heart. But it's not a technology, it's a cultural thingy, because it's about whatever. And we have, and there's also an organizational shift for data management, meaning focusing on federation with the technology. So if you're listening to this session and you are you and the other you, meaning there are two epic data engineers in your organization, meaning you work from 8 to 5, and then the other you from 6 to the other 5 again, because it's so pressing, data mesh will not help you. So, but this is also something I will come a little bit across this. And it's the authority of localized data management. This is what data mesh is about. The aim, what we are aiming for is make data easily accessible. Yes, this is something we want. So whenever you listen to Microsoft session, breaking down silos does not necessarily mean going for a data mesh. This is also rooted in, I have this delta tables available and I can read. So basically all toolings out there are able to read delta tables. I can read it with Python, I can read it with R. I can read it with Tableau, brackets, what is this Tableau? I can read it basically with everything. Every tooling is able to read delta tables. So this is great, and this is not locked into Fabric, because it's delta table means it's an open file format. Open does not mean it's not secure. Yes, so and this is what is, and if you are considering, and if you are believing, and I guess all of us are believing, data is providing a value, it makes sense that it can be analyzed. And for this reason also, I call all this data somehow data asset, because it's not just the people, it's not just the machines or whatever you are doing. It's also about data that should be considered an asset. And because you are joining this user group, I think we agree to some extent that it's an asset. You're a subject matter experts, of course, sure. And Sam?
Tom, I'm going to jump in here, and I want to say something controversial about this topic. I contend that every company has been using a data mesh for the last 25 to 30 years. Just the mesh was something you couldn't see because it was trapped in Access and Excel files, but the mesh was actually always real. And now what this means is data mesh means we can now have visibility and line of sight into all of these other assets. That's my controversial take on this.
No, so and yes, Chris, you are absolutely right. So there's this easily accessible data. One of the aims of a data mesh. And if I go back 30 years, oh God, I just deducted 30 years from my current age, and most likely I have to change the About Me page. So if I go back 30 years, there was this data this spreadsheet have? Numerous spreadsheets pointing to other spreadsheets that have been extracted from a mainframe, imported to an Excel sheet, then other Excel sheets were using this somehow as an Excel sheet, this 3D formulas that you can create in spreadsheets. And yes, a data mesh. This is a data mesh. Not sure if easily accessible is still true, but there are other things. And yes, you're right, it's not controversial. We are doing this for quite some time. And if I'm looking at the Power BI estate in my organization, there are more than 2 semantic models. And guess what? Some of these 3 models are leveraging composite models. So one person created a semantic model, and this is completely reused, and I or colleagues added 3 to 4 unique tables. And this is composite model also some kind of mesh? Sure, it is, because it's reusing data, and this is also something about. So, but however, if I would been asked to use the technology for create a data mesh, my first choice would not be Excel. So, but yeah, so this is not controversial. So I would love, do we meet each other on FabCon Vienna in a couple of weeks, Chris?
I hate flying, so I will not be going there.
Okay,
I can
yeah,
barely make it to the
so
coast
sorry.
of the U.S. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, silly me.
I tossed that out there in case anyone on this call is working on teleportation and is on the verge of it. I would teleport over to FabCon Europe. I'd be happy to do that. I'm in. But
Okay, so I wouldn't say it's controversial. However, this Excel, this what you mentioned, it's not controversial. It's a déjà vu. So spreadsheet 3D formula are creating some kind of mesh. Yes, absolutely. So, but there's a little bit more about this data mesh thingy. Excel would not be my first choice if I had to select the technology. So domains are contextualized with business context descriptors. What does it mean? If I have a data catalog, I can find my domains and also some kind of a data product. So this is a data product is difficult, but I would say it's one of the most important concepts of data mesh, but also not alone for data mesh. So if you buy something and this something doesn't work, what are you doing? So you are looking into your warranty. Yes, sure. My MacBook, I know, is not waterproof. So for this reason, maybe it's not a good idea to go into having a bath with my MacBook. However, then there's other things, let's say product features. And if these product features do not work, I start complaining. If you want to reuse data, then the owner of this data product is providing some features. and maybe there's also some warranty, or let's call it SLA. So this is, for this reason, I consider this data product, data contract thing very important.
Hey, Tom, quick question, and maybe we'll get to it in a bit, but Turner's asking, would you still utilize a recommended underlying modeling structure, either ODS, data vault, star scheme, etc., but cater it for your data domains to enable data mesh essentially? Is that how you would do it?
I come to this also.
Okay.
I also come to this.
Okay.
Data product is an outcome from. So a little description about what is a data product. From data analysis or processing. So data mesh is focusing on analytical solutions. It might be adaptable to transactional solutions, but data mesh, at least I am focusing on the analytical thing. So, and whatever a data product is, it's an outcome. Is a Power BI report a data product? Sure. Is a delta table inside a lakehouse a data product? Maybe. Most likely, yes. Is a semantic model a data product? Yes. A product, as soon as something becomes reliable, reusable, I would consider it has some kind of product features. So if I open a Power BI report today, and I can also open the report tomorrow, yes, I would call it a product. If 1,000 people are opening a specific Power BI report on the third working day and look at the numbers in that report, and maybe the last 200 people have some performance issues and start complaining about, oh, my report will open within 2 seconds. And now it takes me 30 seconds. Maybe there is an SLA, or could be an SLA, that is not met. So this is something I call a product. Inside support decision making, yes, yes, yes. So there's a cultural organizational shift. Local authority takes ownership. What does it mean? So working for an insurance company, I now have a different and understanding about the word risk, and also what is the difference between accountability and responsibility. So maybe if you're looking back, there was a situation where someone from a central data warehouse team was coming back to you and was presenting, whoa, this is the customer dimension you requested. And he was talking to you because you had the role called a data steward for customers. And then you realized, whoa, this is not how I imagine a customer, because 20 columns are missing, or things like that. Data engineering team responsible And if you want to share the account, the customer dimension with someone else, you are accountable. And so this is different. And now local data authority takes ownership. Who are the experts in your company? Salespeople should ideally know the term or be easy to define the word customer. So, but is this from a finance perspective? Is a customer only a customer if there's at least one invoice? If not, then probably it's called a lead, or however you call it, someone who is in your customer database but never ever bought something. So this is the local data authority takes ownership, but not only from an accountability perspective, but also from a responsibility perspective, because these people are start creating their own data products. And now, yes, it makes sense to organize data mesh by business domains. Sales are responsible for customer. Manufacturing teams are responsible for products. The marketing team is responsible for products and customers. What is going on? Who is taking ownership, accountability, things like that? It's not that simple. I come to this a little bit. Yeah, but yes, the answer to the question, does it make sense to group data products by domains? Absolutely. By business domains. So sometimes I tend to avoid the phrase domain when talking to people, because it's not that simple to define what is a business domain. Like, who is responsible for customer sales, product, marketing, manufacturing? Who is, so for this reason, it's not that simple. However, it's about giving the let's say, phrasing it differently. And I have to speed up a little bit, because until now we are just by data product and not on Fabric and how Fabric can support us doing this. Sorry for that. Data contracts. This is, let's say, someone has some money and is asking, hey, guys, do you want to have this money? And everyone is raising it, oh, sure, of course. Then you have to create the data product called XYZ. And now we have to, what is inside this data contract? It should be somehow describe SLAs. And now was this question about how do we organize this, our local federated things? Do we use ODS? Do we use whatever? Basically, I do not care. However, whatever you are doing, if I would be the big spender, the only recommendation is provide easily accessible data. And then I come a little bit more precise, and I would say, because I am this Databricks Fabric type of guy, create and delta table. So there's this recommendation, and I will skip this. Data contract template, whatever should be treated in this thing. It's a little bit more than a one pager. If you want to have some budget to create a data product, maybe the data contract that someone wants to sign and maybe is sharing some of his budget with you because he wants to reuse your data product. Maybe this is a little more than a one pager. Data mesh is a cultural, yes, 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 it is. Who's owning the authority of localized management, data management, in contrast to this data warehouse as we know it. So then what should we use? Can we use Excel to create a data mesh? Sure. 3D formula. All people have the same access to the file server, things like that, wherever it's located. Yes, we can. We can do this with Access. We can do this with SQL Server. Can do this with Synapse or Fabric. Whatever you want to do, I would not recommend the first four technologies if you want to create a data mesh, because easily accessible. SQL Server is not easily accessible because data is locked in this MDB LDF files. MDB access, the older access, sorry for that, or XLSX. It's not an open file format that everyone can easily read. And this is, if you're considering to implement a warehouse, rethink and consider creating a lakehouse. This is for a couple of reasons. One reason, I am team lakehouse, and my Python foo is as good as my SQL foo. Both are not as good as my DAX foo, but I'm, let's say, comfortable with both of them. If you are a T-SQL guy, have no idea about this Python, yes, then create a warehouse. But it's on top. So it depends. As always, federated teams means skilled federated teams. So if someone tells me, hey, Tom, and I am brilliant with business, but whenever I want to share my screens using Teams, the first time I leave Teams instead of sharing because I have no idea about technology. I'm only good with business. And now I'm responsible, but I have no idea how to create a data product. So I cannot. And if your data organization is, it's not large enough, does it make sense? Probably you do not need to organize everything as a data mesh, but maybe you should consider choosing the proper technology that enables you, if the need arises that data mesh is maybe something you want to go in the future.
Hey, Tom, I've got a question for you. What about an organization that has, I mean, classically organizations have like the central IT data team, right? But we've got a noisy partner, right? Finance isn't thrilled with how fast things are coming out, or sales has an issue or whatnot. And do you think it's appropriate to have a data mesh with just two nodes of the mesh where maybe 95%
Yes,
comes from that global team, but 5% is
yes,
owned by that other team?
yes, absolutely. So data mesh doesn't mean there is no central thing, because data mesh also means you have to apply, or not just apply certain standards, comply to a set of certain standards. And I would say one set is create an R table, an R table, delta table. And if people are not satisfied or complaining, or maybe they just want to add something, please let them do that. There's a central team, and maybe they collaborate, because who is hiring the skills? Does this mean, if I'm does data mesh means, whoa, each business department has a brilliant data engineer, has a brilliant data scientist, has a brilliant semantic modeler, not to forget data visualization things. Probably yes, maybe not. Depends on size and the urgency. I would absolutely agree with you what you said, Chris. Yes, 95% of the questions are answered by the central team, the remaining 5% by the small nodes in this mesh. Oh, sorry. If you do have no idea about data literacy, and it doesn't mean, hey, I read a pie chart is evil. I know that this doesn't mean you are good for the data mesh. There is so much more than what data literacy encompasses. If you have no idea, wait a little bit. What is data quality? Because there is this data contract. I spent all decades ago almost a month to creating a valid data quality regarding the zip codes in Germany. Because every now and then, I guess there's every now and then means every 3 years, zip codes are rearranged because villages have become a city, now they have their own, and things like that. Do I really need this? Maybe not. Of course, as always, it depends. But if I offer you something and you are not happy with that, please create your own or give me more money. or whatsoever. This is essential. Of course, things need to be also centrally defined. If there's a female, then the abbreviation is F. If there is a male, then the abbreviation is not 1, it's M. Things like that needs to be managed centrally. And then there are these oopsie emails. Oh, guys, my data product, my claims, whatever this claims table, did not refreshed accordingly. Sorry for that. If you will benefit largely from data products, implementing them will be a game changer. But there's a fight for talents inside your organization. So I'm working in IT. So what do I do? Hey, Tom, do you want to architect this epic product, or provide the architecture for this epic, so important product? Huh. Do I leave the team and join the business part? Or what? So things like this happen, and this needs to be managed. Now some Fabric. I assume all of you know somehow Fabric, and that this is the unified analytics Fabric thingy that allows us to create end-to-end analytics data fabric from the data lake to the business user. So if I'm talking about domains, I like to talk about the departments. I like to start talking about accountability and also about responsibility. And I consider the item that is absolutely allowing this is a Fabric workspace, or as we know it from the past, the Power BI workspace. And so, of course, there's not just one workspace, because I have multiple departments, multiple accountability things, multiple domains. There are a couple of workspaces. And all these workspaces are organized or assigned to a Fabric capacity. And this capacity is located in an Azure region. Now, there's also this reuse the data product, create APIs. Sometimes I'm working with Excel files with 60,000 rows, and this data is most eminent. And maybe an API would be good for 60,000 rows. An API is not good if I want to make 600 million rows reusable. So for this reason, I consider a governed delta table or iceberg or hoodie a better choice than an API because of performance. And now, how does this Fabric thingy, also one of these epic thingies, this guy right here is also one of the epic thingies I really consider epic, Fabric shortcuts. So now this is how I weave or can weave my mesh by combining delta tables or pointing or targeting, sourcing delta tables from different workspaces. And also somehow it's possible, but even if we need to consider it carefully, we can also create with the latest things across regions. If you are regulated, if you're working for a regulated company like I do, please consider twice how you do this across regions, because sometimes it's not allowed to process data born in the US, Chris, looking at you, or all of you, to process this data outside of the US. Even if it's technically possible now, also with Fabric, maybe it's not allowed. So this is governed, right? This needs to be governed.
Hey, Tom, we've kind of crossed over the timeline
Yes,
here. Okay.
This is data meshes, cultural and organizational shift, data management focusing on federated technology, localized data management, and now what? Use Fabric, it's epic, but the small print. We have to think. It has never become so simple to have a Spark cluster available. Remember this?
Yeah.
Costco credit card. Simple. Just spin up a Fabric capacity. You have everything. Can I use it? Maybe not. So thank you so much. And please excuse me for running over time.
Oh, Tom, that's just fine. You did an excellent job. Thank you so very, very much. We really appreciate you coming out, showing us and talking with us about data mesh. This is a concept that is near and dear to my heart, but it's something that's very new in this world. And I think we're going to need to talk about this for, years and years to come. So thank you so very much for coming out, sir.
Absolutely. And I didn't mention OneLake security.
Yep.
The enabler for the magic.
Yes. That's great. So, Tom, thank you so much. For those of us who are still watching, and you can post any listings you have in the chat or whatnot. But Bacon Shirley is hiring. We're looking for a junior data engineer with 1 to 4 years of experience, not 0, but 1. 1 to 4 is what we're targeting right now. So if you're new in this space and looking to get a job, you have to be a U.S. citizen living in the U.S. Unfortunately, for this. But go ahead and let us know. Next month, Marcus Redu is going to be talking about Microsoft Fabric and Teradata, and how you can spin up and stand up, or it's not Teradata, it's Terraform. How bad. I got to fix that title. How you can spin up Fabric assets automatically. So
it's about Terraform. So I will be there.
Okay.
I will be there.
Awesome. He has a great demo. Tons of great stuff. Looking forward to that one. And if you are looking for some Fabric Analyst a Day training, we have a session coming up on August 7th. I've got posts online for the links on this stuff. Do go out there, sign up. It's going to fill up fast, and we want people to attend. So thank you guys all so very much. If you're ever interested in speaking at this group, just let me know. We'll get you on the list. We're always looking for new speakers. So thanks, everybody. You guys have the best day ever. Peace.
Ha! Thank you for.
Thanks, guys.
Chris, can I use this Costco Anywhere Visa card?
Please. Yes. Go ahead.
Epic.
Yeah.